LGB. 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 LGB.
They say LGB everywhere I go. LGB. What it means, I don't know. LGB. Whatever it is. LGB. Come on, help me, please. Please.
Alrighty then.
I like you. LGB.
That's let's go, Brandon, right?
LGB.
This means let's go, Brandon.
No. LGB.
Sounds like let's go, Brandon, I guess.
LGB. All right. Let's go, Brandon.
I am Cornholio.
Chant LGB. Right wing and left wing. LGB. Go, you know the thing. LGB. You don't sing that back. LGB. And you ain't black. LGB.
Let's go, Brandon.
LGB.
Let's go, Brandon.
LGB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB. Let's go, Brandon.
I'm Joe Biden, and I forgot this message.
Greetings, my dear friends, and welcome to another episode of Reading Epic Threads. I'm your host, Patrick Gunnels, joining you from Houston, Texas, this February 15th, 2024 at 9:03 a.m. Central Standard Time. One piece for you today, and largely because my mother sent me an email saying that this is just a really, really great piece, but it's from Erik Carlson. I would have read it anyway, but this pushed it to the head of the line. This is entitled Where We Go One, We Go All, and it's from badlands.substack.com. So we're going to check that out together. Before we do, don't forget to go to epicthreads.tv. That's right, epicthreads.tv, and check out the home of Angel Paste and soon to be other products. That's epicthreads.tv. Use promo code Shapiro to let them know. No, not to let them know, to pry $1 from my grasping hands. If you get $150 or more in purchases, well, you get free shipping. Guys, the Rose Angel Paste will not be back until 2025, so get it while it's available. It consists only of food-grade plant oils. It is a magical healing balm for the skin. Your skin will drink it up. epicthreads.tv. New stuff showing up there soon, guys. It's going to be really exciting. All right, let's go ahead and get started. One piece today, Erik Carlson from badlands.substack.com. Where we go one, we go all. I think they meant everyone. By Erik Carlson. When one hears the line, where we go one, we go all, one might recognize it as emanating from the Q posts, as the Q team said it often. In fact, it's become such a rallying cry to many in the truth community and MAGA that even if one has never read a single Q post, they might recognize the phrase as being a Trump-supporting battle cry. Where did the phrase come from? It came from White Squall, a 1996 Ridley Scott-directed movie starring Jeff Bridges. I've written about Ridley Scott recently in my own Substack. I believe he and his brother Tony, as well as other filmmakers like Mel Gibson, Christopher Nolan, and Stanley Kubrick, have tried to communicate to us through their films, giving us coded messaging about various conspiracies. In the movie White Squall, a group of young men sail a ship captained by Jeff Bridges' character and run into a massive storm that comes out of nowhere. Before the great storm hit, the crew was disjointed, selfish, undisciplined, and refused to work together. This quick-forming storm forced them quickly to put away their petty disagreements and issues to save the ship from capsizing. They had to work together as a cohesive team to pull through the storm. When the Q team uses the phrase WWG1WGA, many could take it as them letting us know that they are fighting for us, the God-fearing, red-blooded Americans who want to bring the country back to what it should be, what it was intended to be, showing support to the conservative Trump-supporting Americans who believe the nation has gone completely off course, and that the only way to save it is to drain the swamp of the deep state. I believe this is part of the message conveyed by the phrase, to show support for the people who are fighting for the country while being ridiculed, demoralized, and ostracized in the process. WWG1WGA is a pep talk to these people who have put their reputations and relationships on the line by speaking the truth, by refusing to bend the knee to the cabal overlords and the cabal narratives. The Q team is saying, hey, you're not alone, and your pursuits are not in vain. We are fighting to save the country for you. In another sense, I believe WWG1WGA is telling the people fighting for the country that we need to stick together. We need to set aside any childish disagreements we might have and work together as a team. This is the only way we can survive the storm. We can't win if we are divided. While patriots working together is a microcosm, I think WWG1WGA is also referring to a macrocosm. It's not just the patriots who need to work together, setting aside differences and disagreements, but the nation as a whole must also come together. This means conservatives and liberals must come together, Christians and atheists, blacks and whites, gays and straights, young and old, everyone must find common ground and work together to take back America and, in turn, to take back the world from the globalist, Satanist elites who believe they know better than we how the world should be run. This isn't to say we all need to agree on everything, just that working together is the only way to end the reign of terror under which we are now living. In order to maintain control, the cabal requires division between the people they consider to be the peasants, us. We must climb the mountain together. If one considers getting America to what it should be, what it was designed to be, a beacon of freedom and hope for the world, it isn't a race where our fellow Americans are our competitors. Consider it a hike to the peak of a mountain, and we must all finish the hike. The mountain peak is a situation where America is no longer run by mind-controlling globalists. If this is our goal, we must understand that the majority of the country must also reach the peak for the desired changes to occur. We are dependent on each other. Assuming 4 to 6% of the people will never reach the peak. They are too broken, lacking the strength or stamina to endure the climb. The rest of us must all reach the summit to take America back. Some of us may have the strength, stamina, and navigation skills to reach the peak in half the time as others. Some of us may already be at the peak, impatiently waiting for the others to arrive, while some may be yelling down the mountain to the others, spurring them on. Some of the hikers have fallen behind because they lack the strength and stamina, while some lack the navigation skills and have wandered off course. Doesn't it make sense that if the large majority of us need to reach the summit to achieve our goal, that those who have already reached the summit should go back and help the others who are struggling more, who are ill-equipped? Shouldn't those who are better equipped to make the climb by walking side by side with those who are struggling, offering encouragement, maybe carrying their backpacks at times and guiding them on the best path to take to reach the summit? The majority of us need to reach the peak, so wouldn't this increase the odds of this occurring? But these people ridiculed me. These people ostracized me. These people abandoned me. These people took away my rights. Okay. All these things are probably true. And I, too, experienced all these things, and I, too, felt all these emotions. I was called irresponsible by a close family member who was disgusted by me for not getting myself and my family vaccinated. It was hard to accept this abuse, but I took it. I didn't lash out. I said, I understand that you don't agree with the decision I made, but I'm asking you to respect it nonetheless. Inside, my blood was boiling, but I didn't let this anger cause me to endanger this relationship. I understood this loved one was reacting from fear, the greatest mind control tool the cabal has in their toolbox. I've had people who know I'm a huge Trump supporter tell me to my face how horrible Trump is, how there is no evidence the 2020 election was stolen or that J6 was an attempted insurrection. They tell me it's been proven over and over that Trump is a criminal. Sometimes they tell me these things in an angry way and sometimes in a condescending way, like they feel sorry for me because I have been so misled. Silly me. When I'm attacked for my Trump support, I simply say that I don't get my information from the mainstream media, that I believe the media are compromised and that they are paid to report disinformation. I then follow this statement up by saying that if you get your information from the mainstream media and believe that what the mainstream media is reporting is the truth, then I understand why you feel the way you do about Trump. The difference between you and me is I don't trust the mainstream media and you do. Many times, this elicits the response, "But I watch Fox too." To which I reply, Fox is mainstream media. To which they say, "I read WAPA and New York Times as well." To which I reply, all mainstream media. They then usually ask, "Well, where do you get your information?" I reply, "From alternative media sources and directly from people I trust on places like X, Truth Social, and Rumble. When I hear something, I don't just accept it as the truth. I independently research it." If one looks at the brainwashed Americans who believe what they hear from mainstream media as being like Gollum, the character from Lord of the Rings, it kind of makes more sense. In Lord of the Rings, Gollum is protecting a ring that is slowly killing him, but he can't seem to let it go. Exposure to the ring is causing his body to break down, but he can't give it up. He can't simply walk away from it. It is the same with the people who believe and protect the mainstream media. The cabal, through the mainstream media, are slowly killing these people, and yet those people continue to protect them. My precious. A great man once said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." The people who mocked him and pled for his torture and death did so, believing they were in the right, but they were fooled, manipulated, and misled. This is the case with many people today. They have been manipulated into believing they are in the right. They are protecting the lies like they are their precious ring, accepting that everything they know or think they know is a lie is too hard for a lot of people to handle, so they continue to fight to protect their beliefs. Eventually, they will no longer be able to lie to themselves or block out the truth any longer. Many people are at that point today. At one time, I took the ridicule personally. Maybe I'm more thick-skinned now, but at some point I realized that we are all in this together, that they need me and I need them. They are not the enemy. At some point it clicked with me that we all come to an understanding of the truth in our own time, when we are ready for it. I didn't wake up until 6 to 7 years ago. Before then, I believed most of what the majority of Americans accept today. I honestly believe I've learned more in the past 6 years than in the prior 50 combined. What the heck was I doing all that time? I suppose I was walking around like a zombie, not realizing I was, in fact, a zombie. Lukewarm. It has been said that when something is hot or cold, we consume it. When it is lukewarm, we spit it out, thinking it isn't fit for consumption. Too many Americans are lukewarm, comfortable, and therefore unwilling to act in any way. There are comfortable people on the left and right. Many people on the right know that what is happening in our government is wrong, that it is bad for America, but they still have their jobs, or they still have their Social Security, or they still have room on their credit card to add a little more debt. Many people on the left are the same way. They now know that they voted for con artists, but hey, they aren't living on the streets yet. They haven't been assaulted on the streets yet. The lukewarm never seem to become motivated enough to act. Hot and cold are where the action takes place. Setting aside the corrupt and just focusing on the sincere vocal right and the sincere vocal left. This is where the game is won or lost. The vocal right are fighting for justice. The vocal left are fighting to protect the system. The vocal right know the truth and are actively working towards justice. The vocal left are misled and are unintentionally protecting the system. Who is the real enemy? It's not the vocal left, who are sincerely misled into protecting the system. And it's not the lukewarm on either the left or the right. The enemy is the cabal who run the world. The lukewarm are the majority of us. The lukewarm are the people who agree on most things but refuse to speak up or take action in any way. They're like the guy who talks it up in basic training, but as soon as the bullets start to fly in a real combat situation, he is found cowering in his foxhole. The lukewarm right recall an obese person who knows everything there is to know about nutrition and exercise science, but is unmotivated to put any of this knowledge into. A vocal person on the left is like an obese person who believes all the lies that government health agencies have told them about nutrition. They consume a high carbohydrate, high vegetable oil diet, believing they are doing the right thing. If they had the correct information, they might be motivated to put it into action. These are people of action. I realize that some who hold Black Lives Matter signs on street corners or attend rallies wearing pink hats or protest for Hamas are lost for good, the 4 to 6% that Q speaks of, but many are simply misled people of action. If many of these motivated people had a correct understanding, if they could break through their mind control, they would become some of the right's greatest allies, kind of like Saul, Paul in the New Testament. No one listens to anyone they don't trust. No one is converted by someone yelling at them through a blowhorn 6 inches from their face. Sadly, some still believe the media, although that number is shrinking by the day. Only 1/3 of Americans now have any trust in the media, and 40% have zero trust in them. In 2023 alone, 20,000 media jobs were lost. So instead of attacking the people, maybe we should just instead stick to attacking the media itself. Continue to encourage people to let go of their trust of the media. This approach is less personal. Trying to win over strangers online is like Don Quixote battling windmills. In my opinion, it is not a good use of one's time. The internet might be a good place to learn and be motivated if you already understand the truth or are actively seeking the truth with an open mind. But as a stranger to someone online, you aren't going to be able to deprogram him. Not people who are unwilling to listen to you. Maybe instead, we should forgive those who have hurt us because we've gone against the system, because we no longer believe the propaganda that is given to us. Maybe we should give these people another chance. Invite that liberal neighbor over for a dinner or a beer. Maybe we could offer to buy that person we don't know, but we see every day in the office building, a cup of coffee. Imagine telling that person they seem like a nice person, and that's why you want to get to know them better, and then actually listen to them when they talk, to understand what they believe, to understand why they believe what they believe. Maybe not be in such a hurry to win every argument. The crazy pink-haired, middle-aged woman or the angry inner-city youth may actually be an ally in the waiting. If they understood the truth, they might channel their energy in the right direction. Many today who are very vocal and active in trying to wake up and save the world were, in fact, active liberals at one time. I don't know what it is that gives people the bravery to act, to speak up, to put themselves in harm's way. Is it hereditary? Is it conditioned? Is it a combination of the two? At the same time, I'm not completely sure why some people who know the truth cower, keep silent, and do nothing. Bravery and fearfulness don't necessarily make people good or bad on their own. Let's face it, if you use your bravery to do something evil, it's bad. If you use your bravery to do something good, it's heroic. But those who cower and are controlled through fear will likely never be great allies on the battlefield. They will likely never stand up and take action. That's fine. They are who they are, and I don't know if this is something that can be changed. I would rather have someone in a foxhole with me who was shooting in the wrong direction, and once they understood who the true enemy is, started shooting in the right direction, than someone who knows who the enemy is, but cowers at the bottom of the foxhole in the fetal position. Again, we are all in this together. We all need each other. Maybe someone isn't cut out to fight on the battlefield, but they can contribute in other ways. Maybe the guy who was the hardest to get in line during basic training could end up being a great warrior. Whatever the case. As a nation, we need to come together. We all need each other in order to create permanent change. Unless we can come together as a nation and put aside our differences, whether petty or considerable, the deep state cabal will continue to control the world, and we will continue to be their slaves. This doesn't mean we should condone or support immoral behavior that hurts others, especially children, but we should have some empathy for the people who have been misled into accepting immoral behavior by others. We shouldn't have any empathy for the people who actually partake in immoral behavior that hurts others, just for the people who have been conditioned to accept these bad people. Many have been lied to and still believe the lies. Many think their acceptance of immoral people is the moral thing to do. Division in America recalls a Chinese finger trap. The harder the American left and right pull in opposite directions, the tighter the fingers are locked. This is what the cabal wants and needs to maintain control over us. By refusing to fight with each other and by joining together, we can defeat the cabal. Recognizing that we are not each other's enemies is the first step. Where we go one, we go all. And that is the latest from the brilliant Erik Carlson. Wonderful piece. Thank you to my mother for pointing out how good it was to me. I always eventually get to Erik's pieces, but this time I wanted to get to it very quickly. All right, so we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to do a little bit of work smart, not hard. And I just want to, so we've got Brian Cates and Seth Keschel. I do their work for them on audio. So I like to do that at the same time as I do this. However, I need to make sure that when it comes to some of them, like some of Brian's pieces are largely a ton of screenshots, which means that they're not ultra suited for audio. But let's see here. Hold for processing. Aha. All right, so we're going to do a Seth Keschel piece. So let's get started. There's no such thing as true conservatism. Topic, Perspective, by Captain Seth Keschel. Sometimes, when we least expect it, the words just roll from the mind to paper, or in this case, to a keyboard and into a Word document. Last summer, I unleashed what has been one of my most popular Substack pieces to date, outlining the failures of conservatism, which no one can seem to define when given the runway to do so. I declared myself an accelerationist at the end of the article, pointing out that populism is the only political stance worth embracing, because doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting a different result is otherwise known as insanity. Last week, Arizona's fraudulently elected governor, Katie Hobbs, signed House Bill 2785, sponsored by Representative Alexander Kolodin, Republican, Legislative District 3. I may author a piece about that bill to direct traffic and give a detailed analysis of what it is and what it is not, what it does and what it does not do. But that is not why I am writing this article. I am writing once again to express how we fail as Americans when we gauge every piece of news or every legislative action through the lens of unbridled ideology. Again, what is a true conservative? Let's try this in a town hall format. Question 1. Candidate true conservative, do you support abolishing Social Security? After all, it is a socialist system set up under a socialist president that was designed entirely to push older Americans out of the workforce, as if the free market and innovation couldn't accommodate expansion once the Depression ended. Now we're saddled with an albatross that is destroying our children's and grandchildren's financial future. No, because I'll lose the elderly vote, and they have paid into that system with their hard-earned tax dollars. Well, you're not a true conservative, because true conservatives don't support socialist entitlement systems. Question 2. Candidate true conservative, will you issue a statement calling for all public schools in your district to be shuttered by the end of your first term? After all, government didn't have much of a role in public education, if any, from the colonial days until the middle of the 19th century. Since then, our youth have become dumber and less prepared for adulthood than at any point in Western history, and to make matters worse, public schools are heavily invested in propagandizing students and turning them into future collectivist uniparty-aligned voters. No, because our devalued dollars have forced too many of my supporters to require 2 incomes, and they can't get homeschool or afford to send them to private school. I won't get elected. Well, you're not speaking like a true conservative, because public schooling is one of the main reasons polling shows Americans, for the first time in recorded history, now have a pessimistic view of the future. Up until now, every generation thought the next generation would be better off. End of exercise. Are you tired of waiting for the next election cycle to see some true conservatism? If you're new to this journal, take a look around. You will find that you have to work awfully hard to get further to the right than I am, personally, culturally, and generally speaking, politically. I am a pragmatist. I want problems solved, and I don't care who it is who solves the problems, so long as they bring about the desired end state. For the examples above, I don't expect any candidate to answer as the moderator would have prompted a true conservative to answer, because I look at the political world with its realistic constraints intact. One time, when I was stationed in Alaska, I went backing out of my driveway early in the morning in pitch black winter with the temperature below 20 degrees, negative 20 degrees, and forgot to close the garage door. Either that or I did hit the button to close the door and it bounced back up due to an obstruction of some sort. Either way, a section of pipe on one of the operating systems inside the garage froze within an hour. $500 later, someone who knew what the hell he was doing, which ruled me out, came out and with precision accuracy fixed the problem. It was one of the best $500 exchanges I've ever made, and I didn't care if this technician was happy that Barack Obama had just been reelected, or if he thought church was a waste of time, or if he resented outsiders and their lack of winter smarts in his home state. My pipes were fixed, and things could have been much worse if the garage had been open longer. Back in Arizona, there is some debate about the legislature having the ability to appoint Arizona's 11 electors, presumably for Donald Trump, because the state has been plagued with crippling fraud in the past 3 federal elections. That matter is up for debate, and several longtime political voices will bring up the issue of the existing statute designating the popular vote in the state as the mechanism of allocating the electors, standing in the way of such a pragmatic solution. If they are correct, then any legislation having to do with election reform has to not only pass through 2 razor-thin majority Republican chambers, but past the pen of Hobbes. The fallout from the bill's signing has led to even more chaos on the political right, less than 9 months out from the last election that really matters. On one side, there are a number of extremely principled legislators who have the think tank smarts, suggesting a strong stance for liberty, who approve in varying degrees of the bill's effectiveness, and on the other, grassroots voices who call the entire bill a betrayal of all things conservative, as if a window to pass legislation banning all Democrats from voting, getting rid of the vote by mail in one swoop, and moving to hand counting with this governor's signature was legitimately on the table. So, what is it that I believe? I have come to believe that I only care about 4 pillars of political life. None of my desired end states are things I would isolate as conservative, but rather common sense. Pillar 1, elections. Elections must be free and fair, with full transparency afforded to the public to verify accurate counts, voter intent, and that only real, living, and lawful voters participated in an election conducted within the confines of the law, and ideally with advancing legislation stripping away all methods used to cheat. If we don't like the result, but it is fair, those are the rules, and we will try again next time. Most people can agree to this on paper. This is not a conservative idea, but rather an idea of intellectually healthy human beings before big money bought politics and politicians. Pillar 2, national sovereignty. The battle against globalism should not rest only within the political right. The most pressing example I can give you is the crisis on the southern border. Nations either recognize and assert their own boundaries, or they cease to be nations at all. This is, once again, not a position that must be limited to conservative thought, and I am being proven correct by the incalculable number of working-class Latino voters living in close proximity to the border who are just now fleeing the Democrat plantation they identify with economically. Effective policy here also cures many societal evils, like economic enslavement of minorities and putting the screws to human trafficking. Part 3, trade. Without our own fully functional economy and manufacturing base at our disposal in the 1940s, we almost certainly would have lost World War II before the bomb was ready. Unions, long a staple of the political left, used to recognize that trade should benefit the citizens of this country and not others. That is now obvious with the shift from longtime FDR Democrat types to the Republican Party, only if the candidates in question are Trumpian in their approach to trade. Seeking trade arrangements that benefit your own country is common sense and not ideological or partisan in any way. The same can be said about immigration. If it doesn't benefit our country, it shouldn't happen. Part 4, war and peace. I was a war hawk when I was a college kid and didn't know any better. One tour in Afghanistan cured me for life because I saw how ineffective we were in a counterinsurgency environment. A warrant officer colleague of mine once told me he felt that using the United States Army to police warlords in Afghanistan was like using a battle axe to perform open-heart surgery. Americans of all political dispositions, seemingly everywhere except for the D.C. Beltway, believe it is unethical and immoral to expect America's sons and daughters to die in wars that do not protect the American homeland and that are not essential to preserving and saving the American way of life. Conclusion. I have opinions about taxes, infrastructure, manufacturing, and other hot-button issues, of course, but this article is to point out that time, failure, and my own 2 eyes and ears have convinced me that pragmatism, populism, and outsiders are the future of the American political arena. That will either come because enough people wake up and realize what nonsense they've been told to support when the common sense solutions to our biggest political problems have been right under our noses the entire time. All right, that is the latest from the brilliant Seth Keshel. I am honored to do his audio for him. Don't forget to check out Erik Carlson at erikc.substack.com. That's erikc.substack.com. And then Seth, you can find at skeshel, KESHEL.substack.com. Both Substacks are absolutely invaluable, in my opinion, so check those out. Don't forget to go to epicthreads.tv. Guys, check out this space. epicthreads.tv. The angel paste section, you can get both the unscented and rose infused. And artisan soap is coming. There's merch, Kiss the Truther mug, Be Epic t-shirt, all that good stuff. Definitely check out epicthreads.tv, hand-picked marketplace by the man who reads Epic Threads. All right, everybody, thank you so very much for attending this edition of Reading Epic Threads. As always, I am grateful to you for making it so that I have a job. And please make sure to smash that like button if you are on Rumble. Let us pray. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits who prowl about the world seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you tomorrow.
I will be the greatest president that God ever created.